Welcome, welcome, welcome. What's up, guys? Wanted to hop on and do a quick recap of yesterday's action. As you can see on this right chart over here, we had, after this first initial drop, after the first hour, we had about a 4-hour balance period here in this 1 hour demand zone and sold off end of the day. So not a whole lot of action, kind of boring to watch, especially in this first or this middle 4 hours here before the open sell off and the end of the day sell off. Before the day, we already had some pretty clear weakness going into the open. Um, Overnight session was dropping a little bit and then balance and then continue to drop right before the open into this 90-minute demand zone here at 44.54. And by the time it opened, we were already pretty far into that zone where it was already invalidated for me. What I wanted to see was new demand created in the first, 30 minutes off of a rip after the bell, create some demand here, and then come back and retest it. Otherwise, I didn't want to go long. So to start the day, so we had this 90-minute demand zone here at 44.54. Demand below that, we had an hour at 44.33 that I don't think has been tested. We have, I'm going to go ahead and scratch this. This is a structured demand. It didn't form as a rally base rally type candle. It was more of a rally. The base was a green candle, not red. So, it doesn't fit my criteria, but it was enough to note it because there was obviously some structure there, obviously some consolidation. But this was also from a few weeks ago. Actually, it might have been a month ago. So, not as important. If we had tested that structured demand the same week or the day after, then it probably would have created some support, provided some support there. But anyways, yeah, so that was from a little too far back ago. So go ahead and delete that. And these are the two demand zones I was looking for. There's actually one below 43.80, a 4-hour zone that we haven't gotten to. So these are the two key demand zones for the open. On the supply side, we created a 90-minute zone at 44.62, a couple hours for the open. A little small 45-minute zone from right when the market opened after the weekend, and then sold off basically right away. Those are the two supply sides I'm looking for. We have a ton right here over 4,500. This is something that you do see sometimes before a reversal. You just start seeing supply zones stacking up against each other. You have this key 4-hour supply zone. You have a pretty good 90-minute supply zone here, and there's actually some smaller ones. There's some smaller ones in here. There's some smaller ones in here, and it's just these supply zones in the same area stacking up before a reversal. Not to say that when you see this go short automatically, obviously make sure the price and the action is still in your favor on the short side, but it tends to go ahead and reverse to the other side at that point. And the same thing for the demand side. You'll see, higher lows inside this, zone and new demand zones being created out of it, which tends to lead to reversal. Anyway, so, if you were going to speculate, I try not to, but if you're going to speculate, there's your first sign of a possible reversal to the downside. All right. So this orange level right here, something we've been noting for the past couple of days, is 44.44. That has provided a very good, to the tick, to the point, great support level. Created it here a couple weeks ago, bounced once, bounced twice, and before the open today, we're trying to hold it again. Haven't gotten down to it yet, but it's hard. It's at the open. I don't have any place because it's hard to be bearish until we can get below that level and stay below that level. Probably come back up and test it and use it as resistance. Then there should be a next leg down and continuation down after the downtrend last week. If we stay above it, it's bullish, but I still want to see some demand here created at the open and come back and retest it, and that would be an extreme bull scenario. And at that point, we can come back up, test 4,500 again, and see if we can finally break that 45.10, 45.20 supply zone area. So that was really the number one thing I was looking for at the open. One, I want to see if we can make demand and stay over this key level. on the short side. Wanted to see if we could break it and continue down. And as you can see, let me zoom in here. Consolidated for the first 10 minutes and then reversed and broke it hard with some large selling volume, but quickly recovered in 5 minutes or less. I'm sure some people got stuck there. I know a few people got short after that, and for good reason. I can't fault you for that. I like to see more confirmation, but I would imagine a lot of people did get short after this key level finally broke. And then once it recovered, it was a good sign for bulls, but they just really couldn't do much with it. At this point, and they held above this level too. They bounced on it once, twice, 2, 3, 4 times, 5 times, and just couldn't get up, couldn't get above the high day over here. Speaking of high day, I don't think I have intraday or overnight highs and lows noted. Go ahead and do that. So we had overnight highs here, overnight lows. Right above that 44.44 key level. All right, so overnight highs 44.82, overnight lows 44.46. Didn't even get close to overnight highs yesterday. All right, so after this little drop here, we broke below overnight lows and below this key level and below the demand zone. So not a great sign. So this is gone. The only good sign is that they quickly recovered it, held it, but just couldn't do anything with it at that point. Here's another break. Come back up, and then finally, after 45 minutes of consolidation here, we did break it with some heavy sell volume again and fell down. At this point, we usually just play supply and demand zones, but I know people who played the short here. They went short here, held the position because they still felt fine with it, but they were looking to take profits here at this 44.33 1-hour demand zone. If they did hold, it would have worked out for them. Selling came in again, dumped it to the right to the demand zone, and that's where you take your profits. Didn't have much of a reaction to that demand zone, as you can see, and that's where we sat for like the next 4 hours from about 9:30 a.m. Central Time to almost 2 p.m. Central Time. Just sat in this range of 44.25 to 44.35. I drew this gray box here. This is kind of what I do after we get a morning rip or a morning dip. This support zone that was created or used as a support zone off of the morning after we get a firm break of it tends to act as a resistance zone, which is what happened. Resistance, 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 resistance. It's hard to get back above this level since we use it as support in the morning. For what I want to see, after this firm break is to just recover sometime throughout the day, firmly break this, in the process probably create some demand here, and then come back and retest it for a long position if we look good on that retest. Sitting in this demand zone, at this point, like I said, we're below this key level. Even though this is the demand zone, I'm not just going to go long in it right away. I would want to see new demand created out of it and then come back and retest it. Otherwise, I'm just going to go ahead and short all day. I'm not going to fight the trend. I fought the trend numerous times throughout my career, and it's quite the stressful process. Know who's in control and play with them. Until, at this point, today, that's the sellers that are in control. Until we create new demand, there's no point in fighting the trend. Short all day inside intraday supply or old supply, and do not go long until we make new demand and retest it. After that first 45-minute drop, we created a 90-minute supply zone here. Boom. Okay. Nope. All right. Yeah. So like I said, we just kind of consolidated in this area for about 4 hours, making lower highs. Actually, kind of in the process too. Lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows over here. And then, like I said last week, once we get these steep falls, especially on news, that's why it's, this is a little different because the drop wasn't that hard, and we are in demand, even though we're about halfway through it or below. That's also enough for me to invalidate it. But at this point, when market participants are just accepting these lower prices and every single spike is getting sold into, what you want to see is there probably will be a next leg, especially if this demand is not providing such support and there's not a whole lot of demand below, right? Besides basically 4,400 psychological level, you know that the odds of getting down there sooner or later are high. So what you want to see is a lower high out of this whole consolidation. So we see volume starting to come in as we get closer to 2 p.m. And that's also something to note, especially on a kind of a slow day like this. More than likely, nothing's going to happen, a big move, until we get closer to the end of the day, as these big buyers and sellers start coming to play. And so what you want to see is a lower high out of this consolidation towards the end of the day, more than likely, which is what happened. Get there on the 1 minute chart. So we see this spike, hard rejection, low 5 minute buying. All right, cool. We're treating this as a supply zone. It's not technically a supply zone, but given the circumstance and the context, it's enough for me to go ahead and get ready to short. We have a hard rejection here, low 5 minute buying. It's exactly what we want to see. And at that point, we're starting to look at the 1 minute chart, right? Okay, let's get some weakness on this 1 minute chart here now that we know there's weakness on the 5 minute chart. And there's not a whole lot. We make a higher high, which invalidates that short for me at that point. I want to see a lower high on the 5 minute chart. Okay, and then we get another rejection. All right, cool, rejecting again. Low 5 minute buying again. All right, now I'm back at it. Now on the 1 minute chart, I'm looking for weakness, We get some, here's your lower high, and we get a pretty good rejection candle here. At this point, we have weakness on the 5 minute chart. We have a lower high on this wick here. After this 1 minute is coming down here, I went ahead and went short around 44.30, looking to take profits closer to 4,400. Not on my profits, I took partials on the way down, but yeah, that's what I'm looking for, or until I see strong signs of buying, and I didn't really get that. So short at 44.30, riding it down through this demand zone. Now we're making new intraday lows. And just wasn't a whole lot of sign of buying. I mean, you have low 1 minute buying, low 1 minute buying, and just continue down until we broke this demand zone, got towards 4,400 psychological level. I took profits as we broke intraday lows. I took profits as we saw some buying come in here. Then I took the rest of my profits right around here at 44.05 as you saw some buying come back in here again. Selling not as strong as it was, which was really the second sign of weakness. This was the first sign of weakness here. Second sign of weakness, and it was about to close that last minute at some pretty insane volume where you really don't know where it's going to go, so you don't want to risk that. And so covered here, and so that was my only play of the day. Just one short, and that's all it takes. So summarize it, not a bad day. Created some supply here. I believe a 45-minute zone right here around 44.25, 44.30. So we have that to look forward to today. This demand zone is obviously gone. Supply zone here, 90-minute, 44.47. Drop, balance. We got our one short here off of a 5-minute lower high. Getting towards the end of the day, and wrote it down 20 to 30 points. And that's all we can do. That's all we can ask for. And overnight, we'll see what happens. We have some supply above us, some demand below us, and we'll see how we react to it. And I will see you guys then.